Roles inside a relationship. That's the conversation we're going to have here today. This is a topic that I'm shocked that we're still having in today's culture, but I'm going to address it. And it's the roles that people say a man plays and a woman plays. The reason I'm shocked that we're still having that is because people are talking as if we're still in caveman days. And by that, I'm saying you'll hear a lot of people, especially guys that go, because back in the day, because the man used to go out and he go, hunt down you ain't hunting. You're not in the wilderness. She's not sitting in a cave waiting for you to bring home the food. So why do we even go back to that? Well, back in the day. We ain't back in the day. Let's deal with some realities. See, I don't buy into the males do this, females do this. I believe you play the role. When I say roles, it's not a female role. It's not a gender role. It's you play the roles that best fits for your particular relationship. If your wife is the one, or girlfriend who becomes your wife, is the one who has chosen a field that pays her well, why would you or her be offended that she's the breadwinner? Quit listening to society telling you what roles are meant to be played. You guys are a team. You are a unit. You do what gets your team to the goal that you guys have had. Whatever your championship is, whatever that is, you figure it out and work it between your particular team, and that's what you do. If the guy is a great cook, she needs to get out of the kitchen. This is not we hear all the time like guys are saying, well, I'm the leader. Well, first off, if you got to say you're the leader, there's already a problem. Because a leader doesn't have to say they're a leader. Here's why. Understanding what leadership really is. Most people don't understand. Leadership is not something you can take upon yourself. Leadership is when people voluntarily follow you. If I'm not following you voluntarily, then it's a power issue. You guys follow me? There's a difference. Because a leader means I am following you. And I'm doing it voluntarily. If I'm being forced to do it because of the consequences, the penalties, then I'm not following you voluntarily. Therefore, you're not a leader. I remember I went to an event and a guy talked about that. He said, the way you find out if you're a leader, walk out in front, turn around, and look and see if there's anybody following. And if not, you just went for a walk. That was John Maxwell. And I laughed when I heard that, but I agree. Because again, you can't just walk out front and say, I'm a leader. Think about it. If you went in a room and said, I'm leading, and everybody turns their back and go, I ain't following. How are you a leader? You can't make that decision. So in a household, just because you want to run around and say, because I'm the man, that doesn't make you the leader. Now, with that said, before you guys fly off the handle, I'm not saying, because those have heard me talk before, where I will always agree that the man is the leader. And the man, if you're going to play a role, this male macho thing that a lot of guys want to live in, is anytime your family is put in any kind of danger, mentally or physically, you need to step forward and say, you have to go through me, being the man, to get to my family. That's what your job is when they talk about protection. That's what it's talking about. We're not saying dictatorship. She is not your maid. She is not guy. There's a lot of guys that are running around like, I call the shots. Well, there's certain areas you shouldn't be calling the shots. And if you were smart, you'd understand that and get out the way and let your wife call the shots. It's amazing to me how there's guys that would say it's okay to step back and let another man lead you. But at the same time, you'd have a problem with letting your wife lead you. Who has more to lose in your relationship? This guy, I don't care who he is, this guy or your partner? And if you pick the other guy, that's why you're having relationship problems. No one, let me repeat that, no one comes before your partner. Now I know I'll hear even some moms, they'll hear this conversation, they get fired up. Well, my kids come first. You will have relationship problems if your kids come first. And don't misinterpret that. When they're at certain ages, of course, you got to feed them. You got to clothe them. So from that priority, they're going to be a priority because they need you because they can't do it on their own. That has nothing to do with who you have. You have to make sure your partner is taken care of in the process of doing all that. Because if you don't, when you turn around and the kids are big enough to take care of themselves, your partner is gone. Or you don't have a relationship that's working. Because when you turn around and said, okay, now, honey, the kids are grown, the kids are doing their own thing, now I can devote my time to you. Well, now your partner's not interested. Now your partner has found other ways to fill the void that you left because the fact is you chose to put them on the back burners. You can't all of a sudden now turn around and go, honey, on Tuesdays, let's start doing this. Well, on Tuesdays, I golf. Well, let's do this on Thursday. On Thursdays, you know I hang out with the guys. See, the person has found a way to replace you during the time you put them as a second choice. And again, don't misinterpret what I'm saying from a time perspective. There's going to be a time where your kids are going to need your attention more, but your partner has to stay your priority. A priority in time is not a priority in your I guess your, what would we call it, your list of priorities. Because for example, most people will spend more time at their job than they spend with their family. Does that mean your job is more important than your family? I hope you can answer that and say not at all, and that you understand your family is the priority. Now, I know some people go, well, my job is more important. I've heard this, I just shake my head. I've heard people say, my job is more important because without my job, I can't take care of my family. Wow. Really? Here's the key. Your family comes before the job because you can always go get another job. You turn around and your family's not there, then what is the purpose in the job? So you'll find out when you go out here and try to accomplish these dreams and goals where a lot of you get so sidetracked and you go and accomplish things and you turn around and there's nobody to share it with. There's nothing exciting about that. It actually makes you feel sad and more depressed, if anything, because you're looking to say, hey, I won a championship, and you turn around and guess what? Ain't nobody there to celebrate with you. Why? Because you lost what was the real priority. Again, time does not mean priority. It's just sometimes you're going to have to give more time to something like a job because it does bring in the money to take care of the family. But the family can never feel and know that that job is more important to them. I mean, well, to you than they do. Understand, and you guys know where I'm going with that. I mean, you understand that. You let them know, I got to go get the bills paid. But I got to take care of my family. They got to know I love you. I'm hanging out with you. I'm going to get some time in with you. I got to let them know they are significant because why am I doing it? You guys follow me? And the job can't be because when I hear people saying, and I know a very famous person out here just speaking and talking on relationships as if they're a guru and people are following them because of their name. And their story, if you know their story, and I'm not here to throw people under the bus because I don't do that. But this person neglected, basically ran out on their family to chase their career. They got a big name today, but what the sacrifice, they sacrificed their family to get to where they are. And today they're turning around and they're talking about relationships and stuff as if they're gurus and telling people what they should and should not do. But they never bring up the subject about the fact that they traded their family in to get to where they are. And that's where I'm saying, to me, don't tell me you're doing it for your family when you neglect your family in order to get there. When you neglect your family, you're doing it for you. You got to learn there's a balance between the two. You guys, and I know you guys understand that. There's a balance. And balance doesn't mean time. Balance means making sure my family knows how significant they are. And we'll know if you're doing it for your family by how you treat them. Where's the time for them? And folks, it can't be neglect them to get the goal and say I'm doing it for them. So, but anyway, back to what I was saying here with the roles. So I got a whole different topic. But anyway, for the role perspective, you do what works for your relationship. And again, quit letting the world tell you what works for them. Because most of the people that are telling you that, one, are not in a successful relationship. And most of them have never been in a successful relationship. Yet, they're giving you advice. Always watch who you're getting advice from. It makes sense, if you think about it, to go get advice from someone who is doing what you want or has done what you want and got the results that you want. Because guess what? The shortcut to get success is to duplicate what's already been done. So when you're duplicating people who have never done it, chances are usually not in your favor. Now, folks, again, there are people out here with some great advice. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of speakers out here that incredible advice. They're not talking from experience. They're basically like reporters. They've shared insights with others. People went out and got results. And they're reporting to you others' success because they personally have never done it. So again, take their advice. Don't get it wrong. I'm not saying don't take people's advice. I'm sure there's people got some great advice out there. Just be careful when they're your source, when they don't have the results. But anyway, on the roles, and the reason I'm trying to make this very, very clear, and that's why I started off with the money, because that's where most people look at in relationships when they want to holler about I'm the man, I'm the leader. For a lot of guys that talk that conversation, and this is why I always laugh, because they'll be like, yeah, I make the money. My wife stays at home. She takes care of the kids. She takes care of the house because I'm the man. I said, well, while you running around pounding your chest about how much of a man you are, I want you to think about this for a second. Don't think for 1 second your wife doesn't have a job. You expecting her to cook for you? You expecting her to clean the house? She got a job. And if you got kids, she got a real big job. Probably a lot tougher than you've ever dreamed or have ever had. Because especially when you got young kids, they have a 24-hour, 7 days a week job. And think about this, that they're not getting paid for it. And you want to walk around and pound your chest, I'm the man. I call the shots in my house. Understand, you have someone busting their butt in your house that you're not paying to do the job. So, but anyway, I just want you guys, and again, that's the real purpose of this conversation, is find out what works in your relationship. Do that. Don't listen to the world telling you about what happened back in the days. Most of them weren't back in the days themselves anyway, so they don't know. They're just going by what they were told. Back to what we're talking about. A lot of people are good reporters. Nobody speaking. They're not speaking. I don't like to use the big statement like nobody or whatever, but a lot of them have no experience in it themselves. They're just telling you again what was told. Like we keep hearing about the relationships when relationships were going well. Folks, I don't know a time when relationships were going well. I know I've heard the stories about relationships that, people weren't getting divorced, but that was because they were shamed to get divorced. That was the culture in which we live. It was shameful to get a divorce. It's not that they were happy in their marriages, and that's the part that people don't talk about. You had a lot of ladies that put up with a lot of garbage because they were shamed if they left the marriage, not because they were happy in the marriage. They would have been shamed to leave. And then if you put on top of that, where back in the days a lot of women didn't work because that was quote unquote the man's job, where was she going to go for financial backing? You guys follow? She was in a lose-lose situation where she had to put up with a lot of garbage with this man, not because she loved him or because he's a great guy, as we're trying to make it sound like back in the day. It's because she felt like she didn't have nowhere else to turn. But as women started, and this started back in World War II, when women started to work, started to find their own dependence, now you're at a point where, and we want to call these beta guys, but the reality is now you're at a point where guys are realizing I have to actually have a relationship with my partner, which means I need to learn how to talk with her. Have that place that we talk about, that safe place where we can have conversations. They're realizing that old days that you could talk to her any way you want and treat her any way you want, those days are pretty much gone. Because if you don't do it right now and you don't know how to communicate with her, she will walk. Why? Because most women are in a position today where they're working and they can take care of themselves. So they're not going to put up with that, and they shouldn't. If you're not willing to step up to the plate and have a partnership and find out what works in our relationship, why should they stay? Because you're the man? No. And hopefully, because you guys know I'm not a person that's into divorce. I'm hoping you take all the things that I share and stuff and do this in advance before you get married. So because you know what people are like. Because people go, well, they changed when they got married. No, they didn't. You just chose to ignore things during the dating stage. But it's very few people that change after they get married. And those are the people that were very manipulative to begin with, and that's their personality, which you should have figured out even during the dating stage, that they're manipulators. But you have people that know how to play roles, but those are rare. Those are rare. That's good at just fooling the world and undercover they're somebody else. Most people show you all the time who they are. It's just whether you choose to pay attention or not. So pay attention. Figure out if you have a person that's willing to participate with you in a relationship, and then decide where do we go from here. But don't get into the relationship, get married, and then later talk about whether it changed, when we know chances are very, very good you just weren't paying attention. So anyway, I hope I'm clear on that. I'm not a person that's into the roles. I mean, I am into roles, not gender roles. Find out what works in your family, because I know many relationships where the dad is the one that all the kids run to, because he's the carer. He's the one that hugs them, squeezes them, take care of them. Again, I know you quote unquote, as you call yourself, alpha men or whatever. You don't understand that. You go, that's a beta man. No, that's a caring man. And those are the things that I'm out here trying to change as I talk. We got to get past all the bad teaching and get to a point where you understand the only battle in a relationship, it shouldn't be no battle in relationships. The only thing we're trying to figure out is, where do you play best? And I always try to relate it to sports to make it real simple. When we going for a championship, I don't care what sport it is, if you got more than one person, which means the two of us. And even in a single sport, there's no sport in existence that you do by yourself. And I know some of you will say, well, tennis, or you'll say golf or whatever. They got coaches. They got caddies. Everyone has someone who's always assisting. But so the bottom line is, in order to be the best at what you do, you need the input of your partner. You notice the word I'm using, partner. Your partner is not beneath you. That's why they're part of you. You say it in your wedding vows, we become one. Unfortunately, a lot of people believe it becomes about me and other people are here to serve me. That's not leadership. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. A true leader understands the more power that I'm given, the more I am actually a servant. Let me repeat that, because I think some of you probably missed that. The more leadership I take on, the more power I am given, the more of a servant I become. Think about it. Any business, in order to be successful, you better know what your people need and make sure you take care of that, or they're not going to stay and you don't have a business. President of the country. Now, we got some people that got some egos. That we know that's real. A president's job, it is not our job to serve the president. It's the president's job to serve the people. Same thing with the government, even though we're seeing different things going on. But it's not the people serving the government. The government is supposed to, and I'm going to leave it there, serve the people. So if you understand what I'm just saying, the higher position, the leadership position is actually a servant. I want you guys to think about that as you run around beating your chest, talking about, I'm the man, and I call the shots. You call the shots that protect those who have put you in a leadership position. And as you guys know, it ain't right, it ain't wrong. It is my opinion. Now, if you guys aren't having fun, make sure you get out there, and you should be doing something else. Understand, as I close out here, the role you play is what worked best in your relationship, not comparing your relationship to others and saying this is how we should do. No, find out what works in your house and make that work. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.